what I see is in a lot of small businesses, their lack of repeatable consistency systems. It doesn't always have to be the best marketing, but you have to be consistent and pick your channels consistently showing up. So you said I was always showing up to networking events. That's part of the secret. Always show up.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Talk2Rami. This is Rami, your host. I'm sitting here with my dear friend Elizabeth Quintanilla. She's amazing. She's a fractional CMO, coach, speaker, hardcore entrepreneur, and a seller. Oh my God, that's the part we're going to talk about. But welcome, Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm so glad to be here, and it's been ages. So it's
I know,
and I've been watching all of your episodes on Instagram because you pop up there and you pop up on my TikTok as well.
Yeah, I was actually going to reach you a long time ago, but you were busy. You selling a lot, and you were out and coming back to Austin for a couple of days a week, and then you go back to the ocean. And I said, oh my God.
Well, no, but that's my creative solution to the Austin allergies.
You have a severe allergy.
I do have severe allergies here in the Austin area, but this is my home. And what I find is that the salt and the saline air helps me.
How did you start your entrepreneur journey? Because I know you're in most of all the networking events that I know you are there. It's, Elizabeth is there. Elizabeth is there. You are a very strong networker. Very strong, and you're out there. What made you to decide to be an entrepreneur?
It was more happenstance than planned. So back in 2009, we all knew the tech bubble crashed here in Austin.
I remember that.
And I have a master's in engineering and an MBA, and I could not get a product manager, product marketing job.
Really?
Yeah, I have a MBA and a master's in engineering from the University of Texas at Austin, and the job market was so bad that I could not, if I wanted to stay in Austin, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, in this triangle, I was not employable for a good solid 9 months. And what had happened was I started to pick up projects. And I know it's kind of strange because with my last name, you think I've realized I'm a female Hispanic a long time ago.
Yeah.
But with all of those programs, I went ahead and registered as a female Hispanic owned business, woman-owned, Hispanic-owned.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. They had that program in the city of Austin. Yeah.
They still have this program.
They still have it?
And it's also not just the city of Austin, it's also Travis County, Williamson County State. Dell has a special contractual agreements if you have another category as well through independent entities. And it's actually viable to start this. And back in 2009, there was a lot of government money being pumped in. And so it allowed me to get three contracts with the city of Austin as either the female for supporting these companies or the Hispanic owned. And they could use either credential. And one of them happened to be the Holly Street project, where we were basically remediating and removing a abandoned power plant before it became all renovated and gentrified. Yeah, that was just a power plant that was falling apart. And it also had asbestos in there. And so all of this communication, somebody had to basically explain in simple terms to the citizens of Austin, particularly those who lived in the Holly Street area, both in English and Spanish, because it had to be bilingual. So that was my job for 9 months at that point. And I also had some other clients as well during that time. And then later on, they had a requirement, since engineering, especially project management, program management, you have to figure out the requirements for a project. And I'm very good at getting engineers to talk.
That's the hard thing to do because their mind is so analytical. And, if you want to talk about, for example, some other stuff, for example, marketing, it's going to be very hard to get them to understand.
Exactly. But I have this weird knack of being able to communicate with engineers or those highly talented technical people.
They're very talented, right?
They're extremely talented. And frankly speaking, when I was working as an engineer, I was at the bottom of the intelligence curve, very high on the emotional quotient, EQ, but not necessarily in the IQ with the people who I worked with when I was actually working as an aerospace engineer.
And when did you decide to pivot to more specifically marketing?
Marketing came later, but deciding to pivot was about 2 years into my engineering career.
Huh.
I actually moved from University of Texas semi-graduate. I was actually in a doctoral program, but I got diagnosed with Lyme disease. And so I moved to California where there were Lyme doctors. So to weave my story well, you have to talk about the history. So with Lyme disease, I left with a master's from aerospace engineering. Actually, I finished my master's while working there, so technically I had a bachelorette. But I was able to finish my thesis while working at JPL. And I worked there for 5 years, and the first 2 years realized I have a very different personality. I am definitely more ENFP. I'm a red-blue. You name the different things. There's a lot of really introverted, highly talented INTP types that I was surrounded as an ENFP. But as an ENFP, we see, and also the other term that's trending now, neurodivergent. My brain is neurodivergent.
Yeah, I heard that. I didn't understand what is exactly neurodivergent is.
I don't know the origin, but I see it as the trending thing, and I'm going, oh, please. I'm sure that half the world will qualify somewhere on the
Absolutely.
spectrum as neurodivergent. If you look at it, anybody who's been through trauma, anybody who's had ADHD, anybody who's done ... I'm sure that half the world qualifies. But it's a spectrum thing where when I realized when I was there, I didn't have that right personality. And every 6-month review there, they said I talk too much around the coffee pot. And you know how I love my coffee.
Oh, yeah.
I'm known for 30 ounces of coffee a day at times.
Oh, my God. Are you serious?
Well,
yeah, I know you drink a lot of coffee, but you okay? Like, do you drink coffee in the evening too? Like,
no, I do not. I try to stop after 2 p.m. because I
Yeah.
do need to sleep. It's more like what I found is I'm able to reduce, going back to the Austin allergies, circling back, that caffeine helps the antihistamines work better, so I take
Really?
less. Yes. And when I'm down on the coast, I actually do drink less than 32 ounces of coffee.
When you started, working as a fractional chief marketing, and you train, you coach, and speak about that too. And what was the biggest challenge that you saw in companies that
Systems.
system and process? Or?
Well, they have processes, but they don't have necessarily systems. So aerospace engineers are very good systems thinkers, and that, given my background there, we'll go back to the transition later. But what I see is in a lot of small businesses, their lack of repeatable consistency systems. It doesn't always have to be the best marketing, but you have to be consistent and pick your channels consistently showing up. So you said I was always showing up to networking events. That's part of the secret. Always show up.
When you say the system and consistency, basically you're talking about the whole ecosystem to be consistent. Is that right?
Correct.
You can't
And-
just pick and choose.
Well, you can pick and choose and do some things well. But whatever you pick and choose, think of as an Olympic-sized pool.
Yeah.
Every lane is a different part of the marketing or sales system. And you have to make sure that in each lane, something is working. And you're laying it out, and they do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Oh yeah, we tried a blog post. We did seven podcasts, and nothing came of it. But then when you realize with the podcasts, oh, you only put it on one channel. You only put it on Spotify, but not on YouTube. And you have no description. You have no tags. You have no essential search engine optimization to show up on Google with video. Oh, by the way, those podcasts, that have the video component, you're a small business. You're not having a Performance Max campaign to leverage that. It doesn't matter that you don't have 700 subscribers. What matters is, can you show up in a 15-second short that can be advertised in the Performance Max campaign when Google slices and dices and uses its AI to present your business, and lower your click-through rate, because those 3 lines to show up on the top line, yeah, you're a mechanic. Yay, you got the great emergency, or you're a locksmith, a great 24-hour locksmith, but everybody's going for those 3 lines. What about your listing on the map? What about showing up on a short? Because you never know where people are watching.
I know you work with the small businesses, especially with with HVAC companies, plumbing, all that
Concrete.
Concrete. But the people that, they are just thinking that, okay, I got enough clients, I'm getting the clients word of mouth, and I don't need any marketing. Some of them, they don't even know what is SEO or having a website. How you educate those people? Like really, we used to work with them, and then we gave up. We says, okay, it's just not going to work. They're just thinking about the lead and get my phone ring. That's it.
Well, yeah, that's what the primary bread and butter is for these small business clients, whether you're a general contractor, HVAC, or you're a concrete laying. They live and die by leads. Hence, that's why it's marketing and sales and creating a system around it. That putting them on a WordPress website is probably detrimental. They need to be on something simpler that they can maintain that has, for lack of a better word, the bowling alley bumper guards.
Yeah.
And something, because half the time when I see a WordPress website for these companies that was created, back in the day, whenever they paid for it, it looked great. But now, not so much. Now Google gives those free websites, whatever, if they think the Google website would be better than your website. And you're going, Squarespace, Wix, some of these other tools for websites.
It's more structured.
Well, they're also easier on the business owner who has no time. Wix and Shopify and all Squarespace have an app on the phone.
Yeah, you can manage it very easily, yeah.
You can manage it very easily. All they're doing is uploading a new picture from a job site into the gallery, just upload it to your gallery from your phone. So hence, you can start them off there. You can show them and set up all of the initial search engine optimization. But then eventually, you release them and say, I'm available as a coaching or consultant. Let's touch base in 6 months to a year.
With what you have seen, are they more acceptable right now to the ideas for this new era of technology and AI, or no, they just like kind of, kick back and say, I don't know, because this AI, as you know, is changing everything.
They are, because they don't have the means to pay for a large amount of production. I'm thinking specifically my HVAC client. My HVAC client can't afford your setup here in the studio. There's just no way. And then plus, remember, he's basically 3 trucks going all around and about, and his bread and butter, he can't take time off today at this time during the work week to come and do this podcast.
Yeah, especially over the summer, yeah.
Especially over the summer, because let's take a look at it, and specifically an HVAC company business. When do people want their HVAC repaired or their heating repaired?
Middle of the heat, when everything goes out. Happened to me.
Yeah, exactly. And then also in the wintertime, before the freezes come, everybody's going to call them before December, January.
Yep.
Or the 2 days before there's going to be yet another Central Texas storm that wipes out Austin Energy again.
With what you said, the whole thing is changing, the way we look at small businesses right now.
Yeah. And if you look at who's employing the majority of Americans,
small businesses. Yeah.
It's small businesses. And so if they know enough and you empower them enough, they can go run with it. And then they just become part of my portfolio. Because I do also have bigger contracts with other businesses as a fractional CMO, more techie startup, leveraging my background. For instance, one of my clients that I just sent an invoice for sells to data centers, and he covers 4 states. He has the budget for more sophisticated marketing.
How you shift from from a small SMBs to the enterprises or startup, because 2 different animals. Like you have to have 2 different systems, 2 different strategy, 2 different ways of talking to them.
Talking, not necessarily. You still talk to them and explain the system, and let's create this repeatable where people can come in and work. The thing is the strategy, the implementation. Your HVAC company is not going to go to an event. Plain and simple. They're not going to set up a booth. They're not going to go talk to people at Initech. That's not their business model for elites.
Yeah, they're not going to convention or conferences. Yeah.
Right, but do they have enough money to spend $25 a day in ads across Google, Facebook, and everything else? Yeah.
Because CPC for HVAC company and
it can be high.
It can be high.
It can be really
very
high.
Competitive.
Yeah, but so you look at the long tail keywords, and same thing with the data center. So some of the techniques are there. So it's like, okay, yeah, HVAC. All right, let's look at HVAC near me.
I'm going to switch a little bit, but from your professional career and then you do selling. You sell, like you go in the boat and do all this crazy thing that we talked off the camera the other day.
Yes.
How did you get interested doing that? Because after I talked to you, I went and I actually, be honest, we did a little bit research, and it said the amount of the female joining selling is low.
Oh, yes.
Is
And
it more like it toward men, and it's just more macho man and all? And how did you decide to do that?
well, I always loved sailing. I grew up in Corpus Christi looking at the sailboats all my life off of Ocean Drive, and I never was able to sail as a kid. It wasn't accessible to me. I didn't get onto my first sailboat until my UT Sailing Club, because at that time, Rex and Sports actually had a UT Sailing Club. It no longer exists at UT. So it's actually a little bit sad right now. But that was my entry point into sailing, and I wasn't even into the racing. I just loved the feel of it, the freedom of it, being out there, being unplugged into nature. We all need to recharge and be more aware of the nature around us. And then in my 30s, I got back into it and realized all these teams needed me on their crew as a racer. And racing means that other people's boats, other people's budgets to repair the boats.
And then you just joined the ride.
Well, no, sometimes it's not as enjoyable with the racing because you are racing. And then you think about this mentality and this team mentality. So it gave me the ability to enjoy nature, feel like I'm part of a team and this team-based thing, because as a fractional CMO, I work from home alone, and I'm also very extroverted. I do need my recharge time, but it allowed me to blend my love of nature and feeling like I belong to somewhere in these teams. So in my 30s, I got back into it. We all know the stories. You've seen me dating in Austin, so I'm glad I'm no longer with the ex. I had two exes in the story. That ex pulled me into home flipping, and I left sailing for home flipping, but it gave me a basis to talk about in real estate, hence the HVAC and all these other concretes, because I actually flipped over 400 contracts at a period of time.
Wow.
Well, yeah, because you don't have to necessarily flip the house. You can flip the contract to somebody. Yeah, to somebody. So I was very good at finding all of those houses at the time because it's marketing.
Yep.
And my leads was ugly houses or distressed people in situations. So my proudest house that I saved was, I'll go back to sailing here in a sec, but my proudest house that I saved was a family, literally, you name it, cancer, whatever, job lost. I was able to let them stay as renters and tenants in their home. I was able to stop them from being kicked out by the state of Texas because they were going to lose their home completely. They'd still lost their home, but they became tenants of their home. And I found another real estate investor to take over the rental property.
And you got sucked back into sailing again?
I got back into sailing again when another ex pulled me into his team.
Sailing is like a team. Like how many people in the team?
It varies. So there are one-person boats, and haven't been on the J145 yet, but that's a 10 to 12-person team. And everybody on the J105, which is my favorite boat to sail on, is 5 to 7 people. And everybody has a distinct job. You all have to work together.
What an amazing ecosystem that, as you just said it, everybody has to work together. And if that's amazing, I wish all the companies were like that.
Exactly. So I learned leadership skills, a sense of belonging, a community group where I have been. So at the start of my pandemic, my leads were coming from the sailing community.
Any of you make a mistake and the whole thing is over.
You got it. Or you lose the time because it's very close. When the boats finish, the best top boats are within a minute to 2 minutes of each other.
And how you decide who goes where? Based on their experience?
Based on their experience or the skipper's belief in the ability to do the job. So I have certain jobs that I absolutely love to do, but I couldn't be in the J105 class initially and do those jobs. I had to prove myself in another boat class that I could do these jobs and really learn the techniques well. And so now I've been racing competitively now for nearly 10 years, and I have actually the boat that one of my exes owned. But the cool story about that boat is it was actually owned by a lady named Darlene in Galveston Bay. And the boat, I moved it from Austin to Galveston Bay. And she won everything in the late 80s, early 90s.
Really?
Yeah, including a national offshore, which means usually 3 days.
How old is the boat?
It's a 40-year-old boat that I'm restoring.
40 years old boat?
1984.
And it's still running?
Yeah, it can. We've actually won 2 races. A one-run race, got second place in a second race, and we came in 4th on a 3rd race in the Galveston Bay. But now I'm repairing it so that it can actually race competitively, because it doesn't. A 40-year-old boat needs a lot of work.
But during your racing, how many female have you seen racing?
It's a shortage.
Why?
I don't know why. It's because there are a lot of women that start off sailing as kids in the OPTI programs and all of these, but not everybody who sailed as a kid stays in sailing. And then when a person buys a boat, it's generally the boat owner that's the skipper. And so I can understand if you're a mom and you have kids, then they're overlooking their kids and they're going and providing the next generation of sailors. But what I found is that a lot of people, like I'm thinking some of the people that I've met in Houston and also here, we came back into sailing or we got into sailing a little later in life because it's the love of being out there on the water and the peace that's associated. Because yeah, you can go fast when the wind is blowing, but it's actually trickier to win the race when the winds are low.
And when winds are low, and what you have to do?
You still have to go around the course.
Really?
And
you go slower?
Oh, of course you go slower.
You can't paddle?
No. No paddle, no engine. But it's trickier because the concentration.
How about if the winds stop?
Well, then they'll cancel the race. And then they'll...
Really?
Yeah, because of the wind stop, no boat moves. And then and then they'll just finish you in place. Who's in first now? Who's in second now? Who's in third now?
Oh, they do it based on that.
Yeah.
And when the wind is really blowing,
then you get to decide on the team skill level.
Is it good to full wind or no? Or just like...
Well, it depends on what you call full wind.
Not tornado.
Definitely not tornado. And I also know where I have to give up some of my favorite positions to a guy. Because let's face it, you have better upper body strength every day of the week, and I've developed my upper body strength.
Yeah, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, I'm in very good shape, but I've worked out to become this. I wasn't always like this. You remember me when I was overweight.
Oh, yeah, you were in the gym,
Yeah, I was overweight and pre-diabetic at one point in time, and now I've completely changed my life and lifestyle habits. And it's because I love sailing, and I want to do this.
When you go in the ocean, what kind of feeling you have, like internally?
Like I'm home.
What do you mean? Define that. What you say home. What do you mean home?
You know what it is when you go home. That warm, fuzzy feeling. You're going in. You're light bright. It just reminds you. You're like that state of peace. And it doesn't matter if I've got a screamer of a skipper. When I'm actually there and I can take a moment and detach from what's going on to just enjoy where I'm at.
Not winning or losing.
Not winning or losing. You can just be on the boat in that state of just being.
You know, the ocean, the smell of the ocean.
The smell, the salt, the air, just feeling it past your hair, feeling it past your ears, just how it grazes against my arm here. That's what makes me good on the teams. I'm a better wind reader. Call me a shaman, call me whatever you want to call me. Whatever.
What do you mean wind reader? Like you can
I know when the winds are coming and when the winds are soft, and I know when the winds are changing angles. And all of that affects because the fastest person around the course who takes the shortest distance around the course wins. And when the winds change, you've got to change your sails.
Basically, it's something that combination of the art and the skill.
Yes. And that's where I feel like my ENFP comes into play for sailboats. I am definitely analytical. I can speak the language like the guys. The guys who've been drinking let's just face it, 4 beers or more, they don't feel the wind the way I do.
How do they drink while they're on the boat?
Oh, it's between the races.
Oh, really? Between the races? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes it's like, okay, dude, your nerves are way too high. Calm down, boy. Take a beer, please. It's
and how
not
many
that
female
important.
are in the race? Like, right, you go in racing. How many female have you seen?
In the 105 team that I was there last weekend in Houston, let's just take a look at that.
Yeah.
There was only 2 boats out, and it's usually 3 or more to make a class. But the class that they decided for that race was a blended class of other boat types. But if we looked at the 2 105s, one of the reasons why I like the 105 program is there's a rule in there that the guys were very smart to realize and put it in there. If you have 3 girls or more on a team, they don't have to weigh in for the boat class.
What?
Yes.
Why is that?
That's the boat rule. That's the boat
Really?
class rule. And if you look at the J24 class, which is one of the classes I used to be in, and it's a really fun class, it doesn't matter how many females are on the boat because it's going to be the weight and can you meet the weight for that class. So it's very embarrassing to show up and your skipper is begging you to wear a swimsuit underneath your clothes, but when they weigh you, literally to calculate how much the boat weighs.
Wow. They go based on, yeah, I got it.
Because changing the weight on the boat changes who has some leverage or not, depending if it's low wind or high
It
wind.
goes faster or slower based on the weight.
And
Like an airplane.
And also, same thing. And also the winds.
The winds.
Yeah.
But
Because
the main factor is the winds, and additional factors are the weight of the boat and the people that are in it.
correct. And I try not to be with the skippers that are so weight conscious that all they want to do is freeze every water bottle, and then they're not even taking ice. They're taking frozen water bottles, and you got to wait for the water to,
Why they do that? To add extra weight?
or take off extra weight.
Wow.
Yes,
Yes, man, that's the science. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's so. But going back to the 105, because of that rule, I was able to. And one of my favorite skippers is actually recovering from leukemia and COVID, and he's 82. And I've been racing with him on and off since 2017. So I try to race with him as much as possible. And we had on Saturday 3 women on board. And I actually did a very critical role. Well, actually, we all did roles that were critical, but one that requires a little bit more of a tactician type mindset, which is the role that I'd love to be in, is the tactician.
Do you
But
think more women will join in the future?
we're working on it, especially with the lady that just, basically won by going around the world. And she's under 30.
Are you hoping to see like one boat is just females? That gonna happen?
There are boat teams that are all females that go into the class.
Really?
And the skippers who've been around for a long time, they're encouraging that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because also the thing is, when those boats don't go out as an all-female team, we're very good crew members. And they're realizing we see things differently. I mean, it's not because we're from Venus and you're from Mars. It's just the way we look at things sometimes
It's totally different, yeah.
is totally different. Now, sometimes the boats will want to have all guy time, and it's catching up with your bros, and they've been together, and it's a bro race. I get that. That's fine. But I've also been encouraged by a lot of these skippers to grow from the pointy end, aka the foredeck. And there's a funny group that shares a lot of memes on Facebook called Foredeck Union. And it's just hilarious. If you're really into sailing, go join that group as a foredeck, because it's usually one of the first positions where people start to learn.
They learn.
Yeah, especially as a female, because we're lighter. You want
Wow.
the lightest person that's still strong at the pointy end of the boat. You don't want a lot of weight there.
It's a lot of technicality, it's a lot of art and calculation, character involved on this, and the mind thinking, and all that is stuff that you have learned in the, just racing, selling, everything else. How you get all those experiences and apply it into a real life. Because, as you know, we all have different experiences. You have a sailing experience. Somebody's a flying helicopter. Somebody's an airplane. Somebody is kayaking. I don't know. But
Leadership and teamwork.
leadership and then teamwork. Okay.
It's literally the racing teams, and I don't care if it's cars, or it could be horses, or it can be some sort of relay team, because a relay team is teamwork.
That can be a great workshop for companies to go
Absolutely.
join a couple of these activities.
Yeah, there's actually one friend of mine who's based in, by the Great Lakes, and that's literally, he does his whole team leadership model all on sailing, and he's also a Coast Guard licensed captain.
Wow.
And that's something I am pursuing because I realized along the way, all this racing time counts towards the U.S. Coast Guard captain's license. So my side gig, when I decide to hang up my shingle and not be so digital, when I'm 70, I'm not going to say, oh, the blue light special is on aisle 13. No, I'm going to be that grumpy, captain giving boat tours. Because
That would be fun.
Exactly. It's a more fun job, plus that pays better than...
That's why you have a very kind of strong mindset. I have friends like...
Oh, my skin has gotten thick.
Yeah, you have a thick skin. You have a tough mind. How did you develop that?
It is a developed thing because I couldn't say that I necessarily had it from the beginning.
Because you went through a lot, I know that, and then you came out of it.
You never know where you come, but the neuroplasticity. I think everybody should have a basic knowledge in starting at schools in elementary to learn a little bit about neuroplasticity and building resilience. Because it doesn't matter what I've gone through. What you've gone through is different.
Oh, absolutely. We all went through different things.
We all went through different things, but we all have to be functional in our lives. Whether it's overcoming the Lyme disease continuously, because that is my condition, is Lyme. It's also whether it's... I'm terrible at breakups. Let's just put it this way. You remember me when I was so mopey for months and just didn't, but it's like, no, I'm not giving that much power to that person. He's not into me. Let's just move on. And I'm going to move forward with my life and all the things that are good in my life and start focusing on that. And then realize I'm in service, not only in business to my clients, but to the skipper who decides to allow me to be crew, because that 82-year-old skipper, his boat is at least $60,000. To get into that class, you're spending at least $60,000, if not $100,000.
And he or she is relying on you.
He is relying on me to do my best in the games. Have I busted out in tears crying my ass off?
Really?
Yes, because there's a big difference being yelled at by a skipper or being yelled to do something because it's a critical moment in time and somebody screwed up and I got to fix it.
And how you build resilience like that.
That's where you learn to distinguish the differentials. And by the way, those skippers who made me cry, who screamed at me like that as a person rather than the incident, it's very different. It's like, oh crap, we're going to collide if no one pulls the purple line down now.
Wow.
Because you don't want to crash boats. That's a very different than you're a poor little brown girl. You are just grateful. And I've had that happen too.
That's tough.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not sailing with those skippers who treat me like, you're a poor little brown girl. Come on. No. I was like, I have a lot better options than that. Come on.
Isn't that the entrepreneurship is like that, really? When you look at it in a way, it's like you're really selling the wide ocean and you go up and down. Sometimes wind is blowing, sometimes... It's really like that when you're just talking about it right now. And I'm sure a lot of people know, as listeners and people watching this, that entrepreneurship, your life, my life, other entrepreneurs out there, it's exactly like that.
Yeah, you have to develop a resilience and accept the fact that there's going to be times of abundance and times of famine. But remember what the Egyptians did during the times of abundance? They stored grain. And so we have to remember that when we're in entrepreneurship, in the good times, enjoy the heck out of them, but also remember to set aside so that you always have this. And then always be building your skills. I could have stayed a foredeck and been racing and being happy and being probably on some really kick-ass boats on the East Coast or doing some really crazy races if I decided to stay a foredeck. But I always wanted to be the captain of my own ship, whether it's a 40-year-old ship. And by the way, the boat stories are kind of funny because I did pick up that boat for $100 and it's been...
Wow.
Yeah, but it's been a boat restoration. But I've also flipped homes, so I wasn't scared. In some ways, I can't say flipping a boat, but restoring a boat is easier than restoring a home.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And there's only so much I'm going to do to the boat, too, by the way. I'm getting it ready to be safe and racing. Maybe not the top racer, but safe and racing. And so when you're going along your way in your journey, you have to keep developing skills because things change. I mean, look at the SEO game.
Oh my God, it's changing everything. Technology is changing rapidly. You know it. You read everything. I know you post a lot of good stuff on the LinkedIn. Everything changing rapidly with AI rising and other stuff. How many AI companies out there? God, I don't know. It's just
It's crazy.
Oh.
When you go follow those top AI, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah.
gurus or whatever, basically, or those top AI YouTubers, you just see the changes there. And it's like, okay, part of the secret in the Austin startup scene is really there's very few companies that have gone all the way to publicly traded. A lot of them start off with one little component and got bought by a bigger company.
Most of the time happens like that, yeah.
Yeah, here, especially here in Austin. And so how many consolidations are going to happen in this field? Because at the end of the day, we're problem solving. So I use AI for the general contractor and this, but then I use AI differently for one of my larger clients because we're using AI to build a funnel on LinkedIn to generate leads. But please let's not be so cheesy and keep selling me insurance messages. I probably delete 4 or 5 different messages a day on LinkedIn.
Me too, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But, when we're using it as like, okay, vast expanse. Okay, we made a big impact. When you're looking at AI generated, let's look at language here. Does a person actually speak like that? Can you train your AI bot to actually not pontificate worse than a college English professor? We have to make sure it's readable to your client's language. Vast expanse on an HVAC website really doesn't work.
Do you think AI is going to get to the point that it will really mimic the human, not emotions, but the human mind and then can really think like us? Because I think nothing can exchange this. We're sitting and talking eye to eye and, it's just connecting.
Until AI can figure out how to have a soul.
Yeah. That's the great thing.
When the engineers and the technical people figure out how to manifest a soul into the AI, then maybe. Because
that's powerful.
Yeah, because that's otherwise, until then, it's a creative tool. Is it learning based on the data that we input? Okay, if you want to call that intelligence, slurping up a whole bunch of stuff to then return results on a query, because that's essentially what each AI prompt is, a query into a giant database. And we're feeding the database. Hopefully we're feeding the database good stuff, so you got to look at the LLMs that you're pulling from.
You're feeding the beast. Yep.
We're feeding multiple beasts.
Yep.
And some beasts are nice, fluffy unicorns. And, it's like, and then some beasts, ooh, no, that's a monster. That German Shepherd Godzilla mix is looking, I'm not using that LLM. No. So you got to be aware. And then where are they pulling from? Because, yes, I can manifest any picture I like, and there's certain commercial rights that I can do, but can I really use it? Because did the LLM actually have permission to use it? Was it really in the public domain? Hence, all of these outcry from Hollywood, you're now having these manifested voices that sound like Taylor Swift.
Oh, yeah, that's Taylor Swift thing was the biggest story, yeah.
Exactly. And so you're going, I can, maybe I should not use that LLM. Can we have some ethics behind the people who put that in there? It's an ethics question of how you pull in the data.
I know it's changing rapidly, but with all said, do you, Elizabeth, have any regrets?
We all have regrets.
Really? How many you have?
Well, the thing is, how do you process them and let them go? Because you can't let them stay anchored to you.
I love that. I love what you said. The reason I'm asking you, I ask a lot of people and I say, yeah, I have regrets. And what they don't say what you just said after that, okay, that's part of it.
And I'm in recovery. And part of this is like, how do you make
You're doing great. 9 years?
8 years.
8 years?
8 years sober.
Proud of you.
Yeah. I can't believe I've made it 8 years sober around all the sailors that I do sail with.
That's the big question. That's what, I hope you don't have any regrets for that, but hanging around those guys drinking a beer and you just drinking a water or iced tea, damn, Proud of you, girl.
Or I bring my fruity drinks.
Your fruity drink.
Yeah, you can bring your little kitty grape juice, and it's like I have my little carton
That's
with like
tough.
the kitty.
That's the power of mindset. I really,
Yeah.
proud of you for that, because you gotta have a very strong mindset.
Yeah, but in the process, in the recovery, it gives you a framework to how to deal with regrets inside there. And I feel like that's helped me with my mindset. I mean, the thing is, you can apply the 12 steps to overcoming Facebook addiction.
Yeah.
And is it as bad, or is it equivalent? No, but you can apply the framework. Now, when I talk about the 12 steps, it's a spiritual program to overcome things. But you realize, I honestly have no control over you. You have no control over me. Why am I trying to control you?
Wow.
And then if you look at where the regrets are coming from, am I being manipulated or controlling in this situation? What is my part? What is their part? And why did I allow myself to get into this situation so that I have a regret? And can I learn from the situation so that I don't put myself in that compromising situation again to make that regret, that choice again? Was that a trauma-based response, or was I being in my best state of being when I make that choice?
Yep, because the choices that we make, the results we're gonna get.
Exactly. And it's also, who am I going to spend my time with?
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah, there is so much to be said about that. Whether it's your first closest 5 or your closest 50, it matters.
Of course, I remember that we talked about that. You cleaned your circle too. I did. I cleaned my circle of influence or friends, and I cleaned up very well, and just said, if I'm not learning, I'm not growing, what is the point?
Well, you're also there to be an example.
Exactly.
And so you can be an example among a network of peers, but it's a bullseye. You look at the rings. Who am I keeping closest? Who is my next level, next level, next level, next level? Because in real estate marketing in particular, they say your network is your net worth.
Yes.
But the people who you keep closest to you affect your mindset.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think so. You hang around negative people, do you?
Well, if I find that they happen to be negative, everybody goes through a negative spout. Like, you might have a grumpy day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, you have people, they have that negative character all the time.
Yeah, no, you can't.
I can't stand that, man.
No, they become a network person.
Yeah.
Rather than a close confidant.
Yeah.
And you choose your mentors well. Because I look at it and it's like, how can I take the best and leave the rest? Nobody is perfect.
Oh, hell no. Nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, but you can learn from everybody, even that negative person. That negative person, my dad was very negative and still is. But I choose not to be like my dad. I choose to be like the people I admire. You're a person I admire. I try to look at some of the things that you do and look at those traits. I look at the skippers that I admire the most. I'm very grateful. There's multiple yacht clubs everywhere, and they all have different cultures. When I'm around a heavily drinking yacht club culture, I look at all of my friends who know I'm in recovery, and we have a safe word so that they know not to even think about it. And if I look like I'm tempted, they protect me.
Yeah, but as you and I, we both are saying as this for our listeners, that we cannot emphasize enough that your environment is everything. That's what I'm thinking, that your environment is everything.
Yes.
It will affect your mindset. It will affect the way you think. It will affect your habit. It's so important. But some people, they're really ignoring that. And they are just thinking, why I'm not getting where I want to be? Oh, let me think. Oh, you're in the wrong environment.
Yeah. And I knew that I had to leave JPL because the California environment for me at that time was not good.
I remember you were there, yeah.
Yeah, and then realizing I'm not of that culture, I wasn't a cultural fit within JPL, but I learned so much from there that it empowered me during my MBA. Analytical thinking, understanding how engineering minds work, think about all of the things that I leverage from my time there that I still use today. I wouldn't have gotten the data center marketing gig without that time at JPL. There's no way. It's because I learned
And any environment you can learn from.
And then you can take the best of each environment
Exactly.
and create that environment. So my thing is, when I get my boat really ready for racing, I get to create that culture. So startup leaders, those CEOs, are creating that culture.
Yep.
And so I want to do an empowerment culture where people are encouraged to learn and race, because I'll never be the primary racing boat, because even me, I want to keep learning from better racers.
Yeah, what you do as far as the racing and selling is so close to your mentality, to your mindset, and where you actually heading, because I don't know what you call that stick with the boat.
Tiller, the tiller.
What they call it?
The tiller.
The tiller. You got a tiller, and Elizabeth goes right, goes left. Okay, I can know the wind is coming. This is exactly, I think.
Or when the wind blows, you
Yeah.
have to hold and have enough upper body strength to hold the tiller in the higher winds so that it goes in the direction you want it
That's
to
how
go.
we go through life.
Exactly.
That's so close, yeah.
Yeah, so in a race that I did, in one of the first female races of the series, the winds were very high, and the other lady was on a wheel boat. Wheels are definitely easier to control than a tiller. But when those wind puffs hit, and you can imagine, when life really hits you, you get knocked off a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
You get
But
shaken
you still
up.
got to hold on.
You get to still hold on and pull back and go back to the direction you're going.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Amazing. But where are you going? What is the next chapter? What are your goals? Where are you heading? Oh, you're in this boat, and where are you going? What is your direction?
Right.
Where is Elizabeth is going?
Yeah, so on a race, we have defined points, and so you go around marker 1, marker 2, marker 3, and you get to the finish line. And that's a little clearer. Where I'm going right now is growing, where I used to be more of a marketing service provider, outsourced,
Yeah.
whatever, and I still do some, but I enjoy the fractional CMO work. I enjoy utilizing that.
And you're very good at it, yeah.
And so growing more like this. And so I'm actually interviewing with a couple of companies right now as a fractional. So I might be job stacking, which is a term that you may or may not, but it's like fractional CMOs. It's not always a 40-hour gig.
No.
And so you can stack a couple of 20-hour gigs,
Yeah.
and not everybody needs a full 20 at the same time, depending on where you are, especially if you're phasing out of one company because you put in the systems in place. Now you can go to the next thing and keep problem solving, because I love solving problems.
And you're good at it. I think that would be a great position.
Yeah, and it is, and I'm enjoying it. And where I was talking with my one client, he's servicing 4 states, and we're talking about, supporting some of his clients in Louisiana. So, I mean, I've been really talking to my friends in Alabama a lot lately about moving my boat there to create a class where it gives an opportunity for other people to race on my 40-year-old boat that may or may not have had access to that class and learn skills. It's a great skill development boat there, and it would fit really well there, and I have less allergies. But just because I have a boat there doesn't mean I have to live there.
You can just go seasonal, yeah.
Or actually, we could choose the weekends, because thanks to Southwest and points,
Yep.
it's a 45-minute drive from Pensacola.
What advice do you have for entrepreneurs out there that
Oh, I forgot.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I am starting to publish books because of with the
Wow.
AI.
You didn't tell me that the last time we met. Okay,
Oh,
that's
no, it's
good.
okay.
That was a surprise.
No, it's all
But-
good. It's all good. I'm using and leveraging the AI to create some children's books. So one of my first books that I'm self-publishing is actually a coloring and line tracing book that with the pictures are from AI. I'm hoping that
Wow.
basically
You gotta let me know. Yeah, we have
Well,
to.
I will let you know but the Kindle self-publishing, it's still being reviewed. So, but yeah, go ahead.
But but I said, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of founders that you talk to, a lot of startups that you hang around with, they going sometimes to a rough ocean.
Rough
Wind
seas.
is blowing, rough seas. The wind is blowing left and right. They can't hold on that tiller that you're telling me. What advice do you have for them? Because you've been there, you've done it. You're in the ocean, you're in the life, both.
Right. You got to start shaving off the excess.
What do you mean by that? Just the extra,
All the extra stuff that bogs you down, that keeps you from the goal. Remember the One Thing book?
Yeah.
None of us focus on one thing. But when you're in those rough seas, you have to get to that level of pure focus and concentration that in order to win at life, you need to get through this patch of your journey. It's time to focus. Take care of your people. Take care of your crew. Let's get through this and let's work through this together. Because if we can all work together through this patch, once we get to the next part, it's there. And sometimes you have to pivot. The winds will change 180 degrees. So that means your strategy is going to have to change.
That's the key. Sometimes you have to pivot. That's so important. And
Yeah.
a lot of people don't understand that, but I think because of the ego, or I can do it, but sometimes you got to put the ego and say, it's time to pivot.
Yeah.
We got to go this way.
Yeah, stop. Literally, I forget that Frank Black song, Hanging On to Your Ego. You got to let that stuff go. Remember to take some advice from good mentors and pivot in a direction that gets you through that patch.
Wow. I want you to complete this sentence for me.
Okay.
Elizabeth is
happy.
I like that.
Elizabeth is happy.
I like that. That's important, actually.
Yeah.
That's important. You're happy, and I'm so happy that you are happy because, as I say, you went through a lot and you done a lot, and you came out of it, Gary. You came out of it. I watch you from distance. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Because the thing is, like, anybody who develops, and it's not necessarily an innate trait, you can learn resilience. You can pick It can be a learned skill. And if people see that you're really wanting to learn, the helpers will come. It comes back to Fred Rogers.
Fred Rogers, yeah.
Fred Rogers,
that was amazing.
Yeah, you look for the helpers. And then when you have an opportunity to help.
Yeah, give
Yeah.
and help. Amen to that. But if people, they're going to get a hold of you, how they can reach? LinkedIn? I know you're on LinkedIn a lot.
LinkedIn, I don't look as much in my Facebook messages because I get bombarded. I get to be fun and funny and share the sailing on Facebook. But on LinkedIn, I will check my messages and reply. And also, LinkedIn should have my email.
That's perfect. I'd love to talk to you all day, but I know you're busy. You got project going on. You got to do this. But again, thank you for being here. And I learned so much today. This selling is so fascinating for me.
Let's do another.
I have motion sickness. I don't know if I give it a shot, but sometimes I get sick. I never been in the cruise because I have a motion sickness.
I don't want to go on a big carnival cruise.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that close to all the people. I don't want to
I
feel like
know.
an anchovy.
But the sailing boat, never been there. Maybe that shaky thing. I don't know. Maybe I have to give it a shot.
Well, we'll just take you when the winds are very low and on Lake Travis where you can see land all around you.
Oh yeah, that's good. Deal.
Yeah, because that's where I'm going to spend my birthday is on Lake Travis.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
with all my friends there, where I learned.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it has enough wind for you guys to just go around?
Yes.
Well, we bring a couple of paddles if you have to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because I know it's going to be a low wind day.
Yeah, we do that. But thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you for being here.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
a pleasure, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.